I'm Natalie, 30. The cold December air stung my cheeks as I stepped out of the garage, wiping my grease, stained hands on a rag. There, in my driveway, stood my parents and my sister, like unwelcome ghosts. Mom held a tin of cranberry muffins, a supposed peace offering, while Dad looked stiff in his press suit. My sister, Ava, her eyes blazing with anger. "Ava, what on earth is going on?" I asked, my voice laced with confusion and a hint of annoyance. "You should have told me, Natalie," Ava snapped, her words cutting through the frosty air. "That Ryan used to work for you." I stared at her, stunned. Ryan, her high-flying boyfriend, the one I was deemed unworthy to meet because of my blue-collar job. "I didn't know it was the same Ryan until yesterday," I stammered. She continued, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "He came over for dinner again." I chipped my nail polish and joked about it being from work. He laughed and said, "You'd never survive a shift with your sister." Then he told us everything. My heart sank. I knew what was coming. Mom's face had gone pale, and Dad was rubbing the back of his neck nervously. "He told us how you gave him his first real shot in the shop, trained him from scratch, and stopped the boss from firing him when he messed up," Ava said, her voice trembling. "And about your investments, how you've built a fortune. You have over $1 million, and you never told us." I let the silence hang heavy in the air. "No, I didn't," I finally said. Mom stepped forward, her voice soft. "We had no idea, honey." I looked at her, then at Ava. Would it have mattered? Would I have been welcome at Thanksgiving if Ryan hadn't said anything? They didn't answer. Dad cleared his throat. "It's not about the money, Natalie." I let out a bitter laugh. "Isn't it?" Ava's eyes shimmered with humiliation. "You made me look stupid in front of him." I felt a pang of hurt. "You chose to be ashamed of me before you even knew me," I said flatly. Mom looked down at the tin in her hands, then back up. "We came to apologize and talk. Ryan's starting a business in auto parts distribution. He thinks you two should work together." I exhaled sharply and stepped back into the garage. "You came to apologize, but you brought a pitch." Ava's face hardened. "It's called building something, Natalie. You should understand that." I looked at her, my eyes steady. "I do. That's why I built it without you." Then I turned and walked inside, leaving them standing in the cold. As I sat at my kitchen table later that night, the tin of cranberry muffins untouched, I let my mind wander back in time. Growing up, our family was all about appearances. My mom, Laura, was a perfectionist. She was 55, a former fashion consultant, always dressed immaculately, and she expected the same from everyone around her. Dad, Robert, 58, was a successful lawyer. He was proud and a bit aloof, always more concerned with his reputation than with his family's feelings. My sister, Ava, 27, was the golden child. She was born with long, blonde hair and a smile that could light up a room. She was into modeling and had a few small gigs in local fashion shows. She was always the center of attention, floating through life effortlessly. I, on the other hand, was the black sheep. I was loud when I should have been quiet, and I had a passion for mechanics. When I told my parents I wanted to go to trade school to become a diesel mechanic, Mom pursed her lips in disapproval. "Natalie, you're too smart for that. Why not something more respectable, like law or fashion?" she said. I remembered that word, respectable, echoing in my ears. It seemed to be the standard by which they judged everything. When I landed my first job at a trucking depot, Dad didn't congratulate me. Instead, he asked, "Is that safe for a girl?" I tried so hard to fit in. Every year on Mom's birthday, I'd bring her a bouquet of her favorite flowers. I fixed Dad's car without being asked. And when Ava had financial troubles, I helped her out without a second thought. But then came Thanksgiving. 3 days before the big day, Mom called me. "This place isn't for losers, Natalie," she said bluntly. "Ava's bringing Ryan home. He's from a well-off family, and she wants everything to be perfect. Your job, it just won't fit in." I felt a lump form in my throat. I had already bought a beautiful silk scarf for Mom and a fancy pen for Dad. I had rearranged my work shifts to be there on time. But I just said, "I understand." Thanksgiving morning arrived, and my house was eerily quiet. There was no sound of the TV, no smell of roasting turkey. I looked at the white gift bag with the scarf on the kitchen table and decided to leave it there. I packed my toolbox and drove to Mrs. Thompson's house. She was an 80-year-old retired nurse. I'd helped her with her old car a few times before. When she opened the door, her eyes lit up. "You're working on Thanksgiving?" she asked gently. I shrugged. "Better than sitting around doing nothing." She gave me a knowing look. Coffee's on the table. Fixing her garage door opener took me only 40 minutes. I stayed a bit longer, helping her with some small chores and listening to her stories about her late husband. Before I left, she handed me a slice of pumpkin pie wrapped in foil. "In case you forget how good home can still taste," she said. Driving home that evening, I passed by my parents' house. All the lights were on, and I could see silhouettes through the window, holding wine glasses, in a warm glow of celebration. I didn't stop. Back at my place, I lit a fire in the stove and curled up in a chair, looking at the pie. It wasn't the traditional Thanksgiving pie I was used to, but it was warm and comforting. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. After that fateful day in the garage when my family showed up, things didn't get any easier. The next morning, Ava called me. "Hey, Natalie. Yesterday was a mess, but I want to start over," she said softly. I stayed silent, waiting for her to continue. "I talked to Ryan. He really thinks this business idea could work with you on board," she said. "Because of my money," I said flatly. "Because of your experience," she corrected quickly. "And yes, the capital helps too. But he respects you, Natalie. He sees what I didn't." I took a deep breath. "Do you even know what I do each day?" I diagnose electrical failures in huge trucks, recalibrate diesel emission systems, and manage a crew of 7. And I still get my hands dirty when needed. There was a long silence on the other end. "I know," she whispered. "That's why this matters." I looked out of the window at the snow-covered yard. If I had said yes before you knew about Ryan and my money, would I have been welcome at Thanksgiving? "No," she admitted. I was embarrassed. "Let me be clear," I said, my voice firm. "I'm not interested in buying my way into acceptance. If you want to rebuild something real with me, it won't start with a business deal." Ava sounded frustrated. "Don't throw away an opportunity because of pride." "This isn't pride," I replied. "This is boundaries." Then I ended the call. 2 days later, Mom and Dad showed up again. I opened the door slowly, wiping the grease off my hands.
"Hi, sweetheart.
"Can we come in?" Mom asked softly. I let them in. We sat in the living room. The scarf I'd bought for Mom was still there in the gift bag on the table. "I want to start over," Mom said. "We made a mistake, a big one." I looked at her. "Yes, you did." Dad cleared his throat. "We were wrong to exclude you. We didn't mean to hurt you." I met his eyes. "You told me Thanksgiving wasn't for losers. You just didn't think I'd push back." They looked down. I leaned forward. "I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to be convinced."
Why now?
"Why only after you found out what I've built?" Dad stepped in. "We didn't know, Natalie. We didn't understand." I asked, "If Ryan never said a word, would you be sitting here?" Silence filled the room. I sat up straight. "I'm not ashamed of my work. The only thing I regret is letting your silence shrink me for so long." Mom's eyes glistened. "We were trying to protect Ava's moment. We didn't mean to erase yours." "But you did," I said. "I've spent years trying to be enough for you, but this is where it ends." They both froze. "I'm not cutting you off," I added. "But I'm done begging to belong. I'm done performing for a place at the table." Dad sighed heavily. "So, what happens now?" I stood up and walked to the door. "What happens now is that you decide whether you can love me for who I am, not who you wish I'd been. But you do it from the other side of this door." Mom stood up but didn't move. Her mouth trembled, but she didn't say a word. After a long moment, they stepped outside, and I closed the door gently behind them. It's been almost a year since that day. I haven't heard much from my parents. Just a few holiday texts and a birthday card. Ava called once, saying Ryan had left the startup and she didn't know what to do next. I wished her well and meant it, but I didn't invite her back in. In the months that followed, something amazing happened. Young women from my old trade school reached out to me, asking about my investment journey. A local community center invited me to speak at a financial literacy workshop. One day, after session at the community garage, I found a note tucked under my windshield. It said, "Thanks for showing me that worth isn't something you need to prove. It's something you carry." As I sat in my truck, holding the note, I felt a sense of peace. I'm not trying to fix my family anymore. I'm building myself, the real me, the one who can sleep easy at night, knowing that I'm not a loser. And this time, I don't need anyone to tell me otherwise.